You're watching Aurora 8, television for your city.
Hello and welcome to Dateline Aurora. Emergency preparedness has become a catchphrase for public safety agencies across the country. Whether it's concerns over acts of terrorism or the effects of natural disasters, these agencies really do want to be prepared. It is not easy to prepare for potentially devastating events, but the City of Aurora has a special emergency management team, and the Community College of Aurora has a unique disaster training program to help train students and professionals for such events. You will hear about both and how they're working together to make Aurora a better and safer place. It's all up next on Dateline Aurora. And greetings and welcome to Dateline Aurora. I'm Adam Dempsey. A recent training exercise took place at various locations around the metro area, including the Lowry campus of the Community College of Aurora. Take a look at this. The exercise in Aurora simulated a terrorist attack involving explosives, shootings, and a hostage situation. The exercise engaged dozens of agencies trying to work together to handle the events. In addition to the city's police and fire departments, 2 other Aurora institutions played a major role in this drill: the City of Aurora's Emergency Management Team and the Community College of Aurora's Disaster Management Institute. Joining us on to talk about emergency preparedness in the city are Matt Chapman, who is the Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Aurora, and Clinton Anderson, who is the Director of the Disaster Management Institute at the Community College of Aurora. Welcome to you both. Trying to figure out which camera I need to be on here. You know, the red light changed and I'm still there. You know, we want to start with, we just took a look at your disaster exercise there. And I know that that was probably a challenge to put together, but what was your roles in the drill? We'll start with you, Matt. Oh, Matt, you're Matt. Let's start with you.
Our role in emergency management, we were involved pretty heavily in the planning. It was a region-wide planning effort to put this together and put this on citywide. And our role really in emergency management is to coordinate resources, is what we do. So we are never located on scene there. We're in a building, our emergency operations center is what we call it. Yeah. And we're fielding calls and requests from our incident commanders, anybody that might be on scene, anybody around the region that might need something from us. We're taking those calls and we're trying to coordinate those resources and get them what they need as soon as we can. Okay,
now you said something in your answer that we were thinking that it was maybe a drill for Aurora, but you said that you're coordinating around the state.
For this drill, it was, the responses were Denver metro area wide, and there was, with several offshoots of the sites. We were one of the major sites at the Lowry campus. The state does get involved with us, and we work pretty heavily with our regional partners, knowing that our resources may be taxed in something that's a sizable event. So we work with our regional partners and try to coordinate a response that's a collective response among all of us.
Clinton, what was the role of the school with the drill?
Well, with the drill, the school served a couple of different functions. One of the functions was our Disaster Management Institute there served as the focal point for all of the exercises in the region. So all the controllers were there handling the different components of the exercise in the several different locations. And I think overall there were 4 main locations and 6 secondary locations, total of 10. But we were there to provide a facility, to provide education and training to our students as well. So that was 2 of the big things.
What did you want the students to take away from the drill?
Well, you know, we have students in all different types of programs, everything from police to fire to EMS to emergency management. And we wanted for them to take away what they were learning, you know. So if they're EMS students, we wanted to really see, you know, how the professionals responded, you know, what were some of the tactics they used. And the same goes for police and fire as well.
Yeah. Matt, how many agencies were involved?
Agencies citywide, metro area wide, I believe there was 80 some ages approximately.
80?
There was quite a few, and
Boy, that's a lot of resources for you to have to manage and coordinate then.
It was, yeah, and we handle our own portion of it here in Aurora, and then some of our surrounding communities that come in. But exercise-wide, we were up to about that many agencies and close to 2,000 participants, I think.
Question to both of you. After 9/11, one of the things everybody talked about was just trying to make sure all the agencies were being coordinated and could communicate with each other. In the exercise that you did, what role did communications play, and how important was it to make everything work the way you envisioned it?
Well, for us on that side, the coordination of the resources coming in, and it's gotten much better in the last 10 years, is making sure that especially other agencies that may not be Aurora agencies that are coming in, and we can talk to them, that we can start setting up a basic command structure, and they know where they fit in that structure. And that's been the biggest challenge for us, is making sure those radio communications there, and then the overall incident command structure is universal in a way that when we have other agencies come in, it's they know the structure that we're going to use, and we can just start plugging people into it for a more efficient response.
Yeah, Clinton, the training you give the students there, communication. How many classes? What direction do you take them in? How do you sort it all out with all these agencies, different frequencies, different equipment? What do you tell them?
Well, you know, communication is quite often the biggest task and the biggest hurdle that you will ever face in these types of situations. And so, dealing with agencies is one agency at a time, you know, and that's really how you handle it, and figuring out the capabilities and going from there. What we tell our students is we educate them about the processes involved. You know, the processes, how it happens, how it came about because of September 11th, and what to expect. We do have formal classes as well as for instance, like interpersonal communication. Because what we want to do at our level is start eliminating some of the ego that can occur, and some of the territorial issues that can occur. You know, like, this is my department, we kind of don't want to work with you because we have you know, our own things and our own style of doing things. But so hopefully when agencies such as fire departments and emergency management agencies and police departments receive our students, they'll have a better, more educated student who's willing to work with folks and understands a lot of the communication dynamics that are involved.
Matt, you've been an officer, a fire officer. I'm going to make you a police officer before this broadcast is over, right? You've been with the fire department for a while. Have you seen the feds come in and make changes in communication, which makes it easier for the agencies to talk to each other, or at least a plan that says, in the event of this, go to this frequency? Have you seen changes in the last few years to make that work?
I would think so. Over the last 10 years, not only the command structure that's been implemented nationwide, a federal system that we can all know as a universal command structure, but with the radio communications specifically, there's been work done throughout the state to make sure that we can go to the stations that we can all get on same frequencies, that kind of thing, that we can end up talking to each other on. A lot of grant money has been spent in order to assure us that capability and able to talk to each other more effectively.
So everybody's going to be on the same page then, right?
Well, that's what we're shooting for. So
How long did it take to set this particular drill up?
We started planning last January, so close to 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
So you don't do these very often then?
Not to this scale, not to this size. Yeah.
Okay. And what type of simulation did you use? What type of catastrophic event took place, which put everybody into operation?
Well, each site was a little bit unique. Each site had their own planners, but the overall scope of the exercise was a multiple attack terrorist event. Then we had everything from gunshots to explosions to possible dirty bombs, things like that. So, like I said, each site was a little bit unique in their planning, but there was a lot of different dimensions that were thrown at the responders to see how they could handle it and handle the challenges. Yeah,
I think you guys also told our producer that when you just setting up the event, you just learned so much then. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the training that went into it, where we get together and anticipate, you know, if this happened, what would we do? And some of the training previous to the event that went into it was extremely beneficial. Some of the conversations we had, and radio communications was one of them. Where we sat down and really took a look at our radio system and our channels and what's available to us and how we're going to talk to each other, and just that training is invaluable.
Clinton, we've been talking about CCA and that you have the Disaster Preparedness School going on there, but I probably need to backtrack a bit. When did that school take flight? What was the idea behind it? How old is it?
We initially unveiled it of September of last year. So September 2010 is when we really got the major structure of it complete. Now the idea of it has been around for quite some time. A couple of faculty members in EMS and police got together and said, hey, we have this idea. They told the administration. Administration took it to a congressman, Congressman Perlmutter, and they received funding for it. So after they received funding, then everything stepped forward, and we were able to actually build out the facility and develop the program.
Now, I guess you have two types of students there. You have young students maybe coming out of high school, looking for a college track to be on, and you also have working professionals there. How's that working for both the groups, because they don't have the same needs?
You know, it's actually great because, you know, they may not necessarily have the same needs, but they have the same end objective.
Right.
You know, and it's generally obtaining I think I have one student who's not looking for a degree, just taking classes to take classes.
Yes.
But other than that, they're working towards a degree or a certificate. And they all want the same outcomes. And you know, the older generation, if you will, the working professionals, they learn a lot from the younger ones, as far as, because the younger ones are hands-on with technology, they're hands-on with social media. And so, you know, they know a lot about how to get information out there and where to get it from, that type of thing. And on the other hand, the working professionals have been doing it a long time, so they bring a lot to the table.
What career fields are the working professionals coming from?
We have police departments. We have one working in transportation. We have one working actually in computer fields, another one in like a computer science type of business continuity type of field as well. So they really run the gamut of fields.
Well, a student coming out of high school, going to be graduating senior this year, so I don't know what I'm going to do, but I need to go to college. How do you get them interested in perhaps pursuing a major in disaster preparedness?
Well, it can be a challenge, you know, because when people think about it, when generally people think about disasters, they think first responders. So they think EMS or police or fire, which is great because, you know, they're very closely related and very tied in together. You know, Matt, emergency manager, but also works for the fire department. So we educate them about what they can expect to do in the field. You know, if they're going for emergency management, you know, they can be expected helping out in different types of agencies, whether it's public, private, or non-governmental, it's really just a number of different ways to try and pique their interest and show them what they can do. It's all about jobs.
And this is a field that's going to be evolving too then, right? Yeah,
absolutely. The actually U.S. News, the one that puts out the book every year on colleges, actually ranked emergency management as the top job, one of the top jobs for 2011. And considerable growth throughout 2018, and then you know, that's where they stopped forecasting. But absolutely.
So Matt, how are you going to be handling all these new kids coming in to take your job? You know, your office has probably been one that a lot of people don't know anything about at all. Give us some insight to what you do each day and how does it work?
It really encompasses a lot of different disciplines, a lot of different departments, and we try to work with each department in the city to address their needs, depending on what that may be. If it's, like I said, a natural disaster, and we consider ourselves in all hazards emergency management. So natural disasters, man-made disasters, how that would affect the city, how that would affect each individual department in the city, and how do we recover. We work to mitigate, you know, the impact of a disaster on the front end of it. Our response, which would be, you know, our first responders, we refer to, and then the recovery. So we're in the thing from the start to the finish, or pre-disaster to the finish, and how we get life back to normal, so to speak, and the city up and running again. You
know, we've seen some of those old black and white films of the 50s when the little kids had the H-bomb is coming, they duck up under their desk. Do you have, not those kind of drills, but do you have trainings for the city staff and city departments on what their roles would be in case you had an emergency during the middle of the day and everybody's at work?
We do. We're required to maintain a certain training regimen, and everything from tabletop exercises where we sit and basically a discussion and put together a scenario and walk through it, to these full-scale exercises like we did with the citywide exercise. So we are required to make sure that we're at least maintaining our training, and anything additional that comes into the picture that we address well beforehand. On the citizen side, we do have training. We have funding available to go out and train our citizens to be, self-sustaining as much as possible in the event of a disaster, and we have those programs in place as well.
Clinton, does the emergency management program also include teaching the students to do trainings, perhaps, because some small town like Burlington out there may not have a guy like Matt there to help them at all? Right.
Well, it's funny that you brought up the 1950s civil defense era, because one of the videos that I actually show my students is of Bert the Turtle, doing the duck and cover and singing the song, and it's pretty good, And it's interesting because you look at it and you look at all the effects of nuclear weapons, and it's not going to do anything, but it gives people a sense of I'm doing something, and that's really what we try and do. And exercises, absolutely, it's a big thing, because hurricanes, blizzards, terrorist events, they don't happen all the time, so all we can do is exercise to the best of our ability. So yeah, there's a ton of training and education in exercises on how to accomplish them, how to set them up, and how to learn from them.
Yeah. Matt, does the city have a control center like the one we saw in the tape?
We do, yeah. It's our emergency operations center, and that's the equivalent of what we saw there. And they've built a great facility over there. And the day of the exercise, that's where we operate out of our emergency management staff. And we'll bring department heads down, or anybody that's a representative that we feel needs to be in the operations center and helping us make decisions. We'll bring in and coordinate that way.
All right, everybody, the viewers who have been watching, have said, okay, they're talking about training, everybody's going to be trained, everybody knows what to do. Have you ever had an event, a real event, where you had to open the operations center where something real is going down?
We have, and it's mostly natural is what we face. The most frequency, I guess, is with natural disasters. So a couple of our snowstorms that we had that were significant of 2006, 2007, when that snowstorm came through, we had to activate the EOC, tornado event, Southlands. We activated the EOC, and we have different levels of how we activate. We're partially or fully stood up.
Depending on what the event is.
Yeah, and the impact it's had on the city.
Okay, because that training, you can go so far, but it's the real events that really do all the work there. How do you integrate your office with the city police department and fire department? The Office of Emergency Management is housed in the fire department here in our city. So you don't have to integrate them at all, they're already there.
Yeah, we're right there with them. The police department we work fairly closely with, and they have representatives that are assigned to emergency services that work with us closely for the law enforcement needs and the law enforcement issues. So we try to make sure that we encompass, like I said, all departments in the city, but especially police and fire for the role that they have in emergency response.
Now, Clinton, you're based in Aurora, but is the school reaching beyond Aurora, not only for instructors, speakers to come in, maybe to expand your outreach? Are you going beyond just the city of Aurora or people in that vicinity for students?
Oh, absolutely. We are the only community college that has a in-person emergency management and homeland security type of program. There are a couple of other ones that have an online one. So we're reaching out to all the students because we really want to get them in the door and work with each other. And it's not just Aurora. It's the metro area, and as far as people are willing to drive, essentially.
Yeah, are you going to have classes, let's say, or seminars on the Western Slope, for example?
If the need's there. We would be happy to.
There's enough students willing to write the tuition check. You guys are rolling over there. Is that
it's not always about tuition, It's
but it does help.
In our areas, it does help. Yes, absolutely, it does.
Yeah. We talked a lot about what the city and the other agencies are doing. Can you guys give us some insight on what the average homeowner can do, the average person on the street there? How should they be prepared for an emergency event? Now, maybe if maybe if a tornado doesn't hit their house, maybe they're okay, but some other nuclear device or something like that, survivalists will be taken care of. Those guys are good. But what should I have at home? A radio, a flashlight? What should I do? Should I have a plan as well?
Yeah, we recommend that you put together a plan with your family. You know, everybody's on the same page and coordinated. And they look different. Go kits in your car, your kit at home. So just your basic needs. We always recommend.
Okay, you call it a go kit?
A go kit in your car, yeah.
Okay, what's the go kit in the
car? A go
kit
kit essentially so you can throw it in your car and go.
Okay.
And something that
well, what needs to be in it? And don't tell me chocolate bars. I got to have some, something else.
Some sort of non-perishable food is what we recommend at home
okay.
and in your car. Any type of water, communication device. A flashlight's a good idea. They do sell the things that are a combination of radios and flashlights that you can crank and that don't need batteries. If you do use devices that require batteries, you check them frequently. So things like that. Prescriptions are another thing people don't often think about, that if you're going to be, if it's something you take on a daily basis, make sure you have a supply that can get you through a certain amount of time, a week or 2 weeks, until you can get to some of those supplies again.
Yeah, and speaking of that, if they have prescriptions, especially if they're seniors or something, the expiration dates of those become real paramount.
Yeah.
Because you can put it in that emergency kit and kind of forget about it, and then you have something, you run out there, that stuff is expired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the easy way to do that is you get your prescription, you stick it, you get you get your doctor write you a second one, so you have a 90-day supply, if you will.
Yeah.
And then you just rotate it out. As soon as you get your new one in, you stick your other stuff in there, or you stick that in your kit and you pull the other stuff out and use that. Okay. So you constantly have a fresh supply going. So.
How about those people who have pets? Do the same thing applies? There's an emergency kit for pets? Well, and I'm sure somebody's like laughing right now. If there's a big deal, then you run off and you leave the dog. But most pet owners are not going to do that.
No, not at all. Yeah, pets are a big, well, I shouldn't say big deal today, because they're always a big deal. But today we're seeing more emphasis on preparing for pets as well. But no matter if it's pet or human, you're looking for 3-day supply. Because during a major event, the statistics say that it will take at least 72 hours for first responders and for help to really reach you. So you're looking at a gallon of water per person per day. Same with an animal. And depending on how active they are, I've got a yellow lab at home, so I'm ready for 2 gallons a day from her. So.
Are you gentlemen, are your offices, in your case it's the school, are you putting some of this information together to be communicated directly to the public, either via ads or something, where they can clip out and put it on the fridge so they'll know what to do?
We do, yeah. There's several resources, and it starts at the state level where they're funded to have this community outreach program. Yeah. And we tag along with that at the state level and also do some of our local community outreach as well.
Okay. In fact, you mentioned the state. How well coordinated are we with the feds? Because sometimes the feds just want to step in and take over everything. I know it's a political question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How coordinated are we? Because that's what everybody sees is that the feds are going to come in and do A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Right.
I think actually that system is getting smoother. It runs pretty smooth now with exercises like we talked about with full-scale exercises. We test a little bit of that process. Yeah. And what the locals' responsibility is and how we respond, and then when we're going to need state resources and federal resources. Yeah. And that process and Clinton, you guys probably cover that quite a bit in the flow of how that system works. Yeah. From the local level on up, and how we escalate to requesting those resources, and whose jurisdiction it is, and who's going to come in.
Jurisdiction matters are always interesting.
Yeah,
we used to see that with the movies, and that's I think where a lot of people can relate, because you usually see the FBI coming in, and all right, we got control now, But the federal government has actually worked towards creating a system that leaves things as much as possible in the hands of, like in the hands of Matt, at the local level. Yeah. And they just provide resources. And it only makes sense because who knows Aurora better than Matt and his crew, and then the firefighters on the ground here. So it has gotten a lot better.
Yeah. How real are some of these disasters of terrorism and stuff that we're talking about? Because most Americans see it on the TV and someplace else. And you also have guys that'll say, well, we haven't been hit since 9/11, so we're fine. In your training, in your studies, and people who've come in and spoken to both groups and to your students, is it really real?
Yeah, I'd say it's very real, and
Yeah.
the potential is always very real, and there's that risk is always there, and it's ever present. So yeah, I would say yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
I would agree. I mean, just because it hasn't happened yet, or hasn't happened again, doesn't mean that we're not out there constantly trying to work towards it not happening. And you can see that in all different sorts of cases. You know, even here in Aurora, you know, we had somebody who was arrested planning on subway terrorism in New York City.
Yeah.
You know, Christmas Day bomber, people still flying across the planes and getting explosives. So it's there, you know, and we don't place it's the scarier event, if you will,
Yeah.
you know, because it is terrorism. And so we still prepare for it and we still train for it, but we do just as much training as, on natural disasters because that happens more frequently. But we don't turn a blind eye to it just because it's not happening, you know, every day.
Yeah, well, when you talk about naturals here, everybody sees the tsunami in Japan. Well, that'll never happen here, I'm fine. But one day, I remember with News Inside Aurora, we covered 5 tornadoes that showed up in one afternoon here. So people really need to know that these things can occur, they can happen. They need to have the right information to take care of themselves and know where to go and what to do.
Yeah, and even things you don't really think about. You know, we have the Rocky Mountains out here. Well, how are those formed? You know, earthquakes. And we're starting to see an increase in earthquakes. You know, we had a big 6.5 down south, and in Japan, they laugh at that, you know, but here in Aurora, you know, if a 6.5 happened, it could do some pretty good damage.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, they wouldn't know what to do.
So it's just a matter of thinking about all the things that could happen. And really, if all you do is stick a couple of gallons of water on the side, you know, have some non-perishable food like Matt talked about, and for you and your pets, then you're helping out the system a lot.
Have your urban garden in the backyard. In
Why
case.
not? Yeah.
Where can people find out more information about the class and the curriculum track that you offer at CCA on emergency preparedness?
Well, they can certainly give us a call or go to our website at ccaurora.edu/DMI,
Okay.
Disaster Management Institute,
Okay.
and they can find more about the program there.
And your program is based at Lowry, right?
It is based at Lowry, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's
sure
not
is.
up here, not up the road a bit. It's over there at Lowry.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought so. Can the public find out more information about the Go Kit and the other stuff? A website for you, or
Yeah,
how does that work?
There's several emergency preparedness websites, but a good starting place is our city website under the fire department, and you'll be able to go to the emergency management and find some resources there and links to take you to a lot of other good resources.
Yeah, you're right. Well, you know, I really appreciate the training that you've gone through and all the information you're starting to train the kids about, because as you said, it can happen, it's real. And it's comforting to know that you guys are out there making sure that we're going to be okay. We do thank you both for joining us for Dateline Aurora, and hope we can update at some time in the future.
Thanks for
sure.
having
Thank
us.
you.
All right, we thank you for watching Dateline Aurora, and we hope to see you here again next month. Good night.
You're watching Aurora 8, nationally recognized for excellence in government programming.